You have a wolf sleeping on your couch right now. You call it a dog. You feed it kibble shaped like little bones. You let it lick your face. But strip away 10,000 years of comfort and convenience, and what is lying next to you is descended from an animal that once hunted elk in packs, that could tear open a ribcage in seconds, that had every evolutionary reason to see you as either a threat or a meal. So how did that animal end up asleep at the foot of your bed? The real answer is far stranger than humans tamed wolves. You did not tame anything. Something closer to a slow, mutual seduction happened, and neither species fully chose it. Picture a cold night, roughly 30,000 years ago, somewhere across the vast grasslands of Ice Age Eurasia. A group of humans huddles around a fire. They are not farmers. They have no fences, no leashes, no concept of a pet. They are hunters, and they are messy ones. Every kill leaves behind scraps, bones with marrow still clinging to them, fat trimmings, organs nobody wants. Somewhere in the dark, just past the firelight, a wolf is watching. Not every wolf. Most wolves in that landscape would have kept their distance, their instincts screaming danger at the smell of smoke and human sweat. But wolves, like people, are not identical. Some are bolder, some are calmer around threats. Some have a flight response that fires a little slower than their packmates. Here is where the strange part begins. That difference in temperament was not a personality quirk. It was written into their biology, and it was about to become the most important trait a wolf could have. The calmer wolves crept closer to the human camps. They found frozen meat scraps and half-eaten carcasses left in the snow. Free calories, without the risk of a hunt. And because they were bold enough to tolerate human proximity, but not so bold that humans killed them on sight, these wolves survived the winter a little better than their shyer relatives. This is natural selection, but pointed in an unusual direction. It was not selecting for the strongest wolf, or the fastest, or the best hunter. It was selecting for tolerance, for an animal that could stay calm in the presence of a completely different species. Generation after generation, camp after camp, the boldest, calmest wolves kept surviving on the edges of human life and kept passing that calmness to their pups. And something remarkable happened to their bodies almost as a side effect. In the 1950s, a Soviet geneticist named Dmitry Belyaev ran an experiment that would end up explaining exactly why. Working with silver foxes on a fur farm, he bred only the calmest individuals in each generation, foxes that showed the least fear and aggression toward humans. He selected for nothing except temperament. Within a few generations, something bizarre began appearing. The foxes' ears started to flop. Their tails began to curl. Patches of white fur appeared on their coats. Their skulls even changed shape, becoming more rounded, more youthful looking. Belyaev had not bred for floppy ears or curly tails. He had bred for calmness, and all of that came along for free. Scientists now believe this happens because the genes controlling fear response sit right next to, or even overlap with, the genes controlling physical development. Select for one, and you accidentally drag the other along with it. Which means the wolves that kept creeping closer to human fires were not just becoming calmer, they were, without anyone intending it, starting to look and act more and more like dogs. Somewhere in that process, humans stopped being passive. The wolves that lingered near camp were useful. They barked at approaching predators. They finished off scraps that would otherwise attract more dangerous animals. Occasionally, the boldest ones would even join a hunt. So people began, consciously or not, tolerating them, then feeding them a little on purpose, then eventually keeping their pups. Anthropologist Pat Shipman has argued that this relationship might be one of the most important survival tools our species ever stumbled into. Her research points to something striking. Wherever early humans lived alongside these proto-dogs, they seemed to outhunt and outcompete other groups of humans nearby, including Neanderthals, who show no evidence of ever forming this same partnership. Sit with that for a moment. Not sharper spears, not bigger brains. A four-legged early warning system and hunting partner may have quietly tipped the balance of an entire evolutionary rivalry. Genetic research backs up just how long ago this all began. A team led by evolutionary biologist Robert Wayne used DNA analysis to trace the split between wolves and dogs back tens of thousands of years. Far earlier than the rise of farming, earlier than permanent villages, earlier than almost anything we associate with human civilization. Dogs were not invented after humans settled down. Dogs helped humans become who they were while everyone was still on the move. Here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. You did not domesticate the dog the way you might assume, through careful planning, capturing wolf pups and training them by hand. That almost certainly wasn't how it started, and mainly because wolf pups raised by humans still tend to grow into wolves, with wolf instincts intact. Instead, dogs largely domesticated themselves. The boldest, calmest wolves chose to approach you. Evolution rewarded the ones who could tolerate you. You simply stopped chasing them away, and eventually you started feeding the ones who stuck around. Domestication was not something done to wolves. It was closer to a negotiation, played out over hundreds of generations, where the animal that flinched a little less each time slowly won a permanent seat by the fire. The final piece of proof lives inside every dog you've ever met. Researchers studying dog behavior have found something wolves simply do not do naturally. Dogs make prolonged eye contact with humans, and that eye contact triggers a release of oxytocin, the same bonding hormone that surges between a parent and an infant. A study led by researcher Takafumi Kikisui found this oxytocin response runs in both directions. When a dog looks into your eyes, both of you get a small hormonal hit of connection. Wolves raised by humans from birth do not do this. It is not something you can train into them. It appears to be something dogs specifically evolved, a biological handshake built through thousands of years of proximity that essentially forces a bond between two species that started out as predator and potential threat. Think about what that actually means. Somewhere in the last 30,000 years, an animal rewired its own nervous system to make eye contact with a completely different species feel rewarding instead of threatening. To a wolf, a direct stare is a challenge. It is how conflicts start. But to a dog, that same stare became a request for connection. That is not a small shift. That is one species quietly renegotiating its own instincts to survive next to yours. And the negotiation did not stop at the eyes. Consider the bark. Wolves bark rarely, usually only as a brief alarm before falling silent. Dogs bark constantly, in dozens of different tones, almost as if the trait was kept around and expanded specifically because humans respond to it. A dog barking at the door is not an accident of nature. It is a leftover advertisement of usefulness, refined over thousands of years because the wolves who made the most noise about danger were the ones humans wanted to keep close. There is also the matter of digestion, which sounds mundane until you realize what it proves. Research comparing wolf and dog genomes has found that dogs carry extra copies of genes involved in breaking down starch, the kind found in grains and scraps from a human diet. Wolves in the wild do not need this. Their diet is almost entirely meat. But a wolf lingering near a human camp, eating burnt porridge and bread crusts and root vegetables tossed aside after a meal, would only survive long enough to reproduce if its body could actually process that food. So evolution rewrote their digestive systems, not because anyone selected for it on purpose, but because every wolf that could not digest human leftovers quietly failed to keep up with the ones that could. Your dog's ability to eat table scraps without getting sick is not a coincidence. It is a fossil of thousands of years spent eating whatever you were willing to throw away. Now picture the wider consequence of all this, because it reaches far beyond any single wolf or any single fire. Once early humans had animals that could smell a predator from a mile off, hear footsteps long before human ears could, and track a wounded animal for hours without tiring, hunting itself transformed. A hunting party with dogs did not need to be as large. It did not need to take the same risks. It could bring down bigger game, more reliably, while using fewer people to do it.
That kind of efficiency does not just feed a group for one night, it changes the entire shape of a society. Fewer hunters needed for the same amount of food means more time for other things, more time to make tools, more time to raise children, more time to simply survive a harsh winter instead of spending every waking hour chasing the next meal. Some researchers argue this margin, small as it sounds, may have been the difference between groups that thrived through the last ice age and groups that quietly vanished from the archaeological record. There is a reason this detail keeps surfacing in the fossil record too. Archaeologists have found ancient burial sites where a dog was laid to rest alongside a human, sometimes with the same care given to a family member. Not eaten, not discarded, buried. That is not how you treat livestock, and it is not how you treat a tool. It is how you treat something you have already decided belongs to your family thousands of years before anyone had a word for pet. And here is the twist most people never stop to consider. Neanderthals were not less intelligent. They made tools, they controlled fire, they buried their dead with what looks like genuine ritual and grief. By almost every measure we use to judge intelligence, they were fully capable of forming the same partnership with wolves that early modern humans did. But they never did it. No archaeological site linked to Neanderthals shows any sign of this kind of long-term animal partnership. Whether that was a matter of different social behavior, different tolerance for other species, or simple chance, the absence is glaring, and it means the presence of a dog by the fire might not be a small footnote in your species history. It might be one of the quiet reasons your species is still here to read about it, while another intelligent human relative is not. So the doodle-scribbled version, ancient humans tamed wild animals into pets, misses the far weirder truth. Wolves gambled that getting closer to fire and food was worth the risk of getting closer to us. The gamble paid off so well that their descendants rewired their own bodies, their own faces, and even their own hormones around the presence of humans. Which brings you back to that couch, right now, with something warm and floppy-eared breathing beside you. That dog is not just a pet. It is the living result of one of the strangest and quietest revolutions in the history of two species, a partnership sealed not with words or contracts, but with scraps of meat left in the snow, and a wolf that was just a little too calm to run away. You still have a wolf sleeping on your couch. It just learned, generation after generation, exactly how to make you love it.